Mindsetters, welcome to your Business Studies show on a Tuesday. I am Luni and with me is Dave. Dave, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So what are we doing for the Mindsetters today?
So today we're going to be going over professionalism and ethics, and then we're also going to be doing corporate social responsibility and corporate social investment. We're going to do a couple of short questions from previous exams, a couple of medium questions, and then we're going to do 2 essay questions to finish the show off today.
All right, Mindsetters, don't forget that this show is proudly sponsored by the MTN SA Foundation and endorsed by the Department of Basic Education. We're here for you to prep you for those final exams, and remember, tomorrow you're writing business studies. So don't forget to send us all your questions on our Facebook page on facebook.com/LearnExtra, and on Twitter our handle is @LearnExtra, and you can get all the show notes for business studies and watch some videos to prep you for those last few minutes for business studies on learn.mindset.co.za/extra/revision/exam score. But with that said, let's take straight to Dave.
Right, guys, we're going to be going through a couple of multiple choice questions first. As Luni said, if you have any questions, please send them through on the Facebook page. Right, so our first question that we're going to go through today is an example from a multiple choice question, and it is an example of unprofessional and unethical behavior is A, employing unskilled workers, B, increasing prices due to competition, waste and abusing work time by doing personal things, or D, attending to employees' work-related problems in the plant. Now, unethical behavior is when we are doing the wrong thing. Right, so ethical behavior is all about doing the right thing. Now, you cannot be a professional if you're unethical. So the answer here that we will have is going to be C. It is wasting and abusing work time but doing your own personal matters. All right, people get paid to do work at work. They don't get paid to do things, personal errands or personal jobs during work time. Right, so that's unethical. That is not doing the right thing there. All right, let's go through our next question. Which one of the following is an advantage of corporate social responsibility? Our options are A, reduces the BBBEE ratings, makes reporting and financial statements more difficult, is not the main activity of the business, or D, attracts investors. And the answer is D, it attracts investors. All right, people want to be associated with people that are doing the right thing and that are doing positive things within the community. Right, so that is one definite positive of corporate social responsibility. So if you're helping out the community, people want to invest in your company because they're doing good there. They want to be associated with that. Unlike if you were with a business that was polluting the community around the business enterprise, people don't want to be associated with you. Think of that oil spill that happened 4 years ago in the Gulf of Mexico with that particular petroleum company. No one wanted to be associated with them because they were busy polluting the environment and affecting the communities around them. All right, let's go on to question 1.3. Which one of the following could be regarded as an unethical business practice? Right, our options are A, employment of unskilled workers, B, selling substitute products to avoid competition, C, promoting second-hand products as new products, or D, increasing the price when the product is not always available. And the answer is C. All right, we cannot sell products that we say is new, right, that are actually second-hand, because that's doing the wrong thing. We aren't being honest to our consumers about that. Now, you could also link that question into the Consumer Protection Act, and in the Consumer Protection Act, it outlaws that type of practice as well. So remember, ethics is all about doing the right thing. If I'm going to sell you a second-hand cell phone, I must tell you up front, this is a second-hand cell phone. It is not brand new, so that you know what you are buying and what you're getting yourself into. Right, now we're going to select the correct term. So A, professional code of conduct or unethical code of conduct contains codes for expected behavior in specific occupations. And the answer is a professional code of conduct. So if you see doctors have a professional code of conduct. So doctors cannot go out to the public and say, right, oh, guess what? Dave Hansen has this and this wrong. No. Doctors have to be professional. That's why they have that patient-doctor privilege, right, where they have to keep everything that has been said about you confidential, and they cannot go out and tell anyone about that. Now, a whole bunch of organizations have a code of conduct on how you must act professionally, right? That's very important in industries. You look at lawyers, doctors, psychologists, everyone who's considered a professional. Then question 2.2, corporate social responsibility or corporate citizenship means that a company's business model should be socially responsible and environmentally sustainable, all right? So there we have corporate social responsibility. A business cannot operate in a community if it is negatively affecting the community. It has to make sure it's responsible. And we can make sure we're responsible by uplifting the community and also not polluting the community in which we operate. Then we have a match the column question here. So this is said, what is corporate social investment? Now we've got two options here. It is a business sponsoring a community development project, or B, the amount that an investor receives as a result of an investment made. All right, the answer is obviously A. Right, so it's a business sponsoring a community project. It can be various things, maybe opening up a clinic, giving the school, the local community school computers, or building a new school there, right? Corporate social investment is all about investing in the community, right? The business isn't going to create corporate social investment to create a profit for itself. It's rather investing in the community and trying to uplift the community as a whole. Right, let's go on to our next question there. Right. So now we get to the longer questions. So this is state any two key principles identified in the King Code by Judge Mervyn King. Right. This is quite a tough section, but you need to know it. It's not as exciting as other sections, but it's very important that we know it because it builds a bigger picture for us. And the examiners like asking a lot of this in terms of ethics, professionalism, corporate social responsibility, and corporate social investment. So let's have a look at what they have to say here. Right. So the first thing is that there needs to be independence. Right. So there needs to be independence. Right? Business needs to be sustainable. That's one of the big things there. We need sustainability. What does sustainability mean? It means that the business can work by itself. It does not need continuous cash injections. It can run by itself over a long term. Right. We need to have innovation. So that means creating products and creating services that are new and satisfy our changing tastes and needs. There must be good governance. Right. Governance is how we run our business. Do we do the right thing? Once again, that falls into ethics, doing the right thing. So governance tells us how we must run our business and the rules in which we must run our business by. Right. There must be fairness. Right. If we look there, another thing that comes into fairness is the Employment Equity Act. It's all about fairness, everyone being on the equal footing, everyone being treated fairly. And this also comes into business. Businesses must be fair to their consumers, their stakeholders, their employees, everyone. Right. There must be shareholder specification. Right. Transparency, very, very important. We have transparency so that people can see that there's nothing sinister, or we're not hiding anything, and that it's open to everyone. Anyone can come and scrutinize what's happening in the business. And the reason for that is that we don't want businesses lying to their shareholders or to their stakeholders. So in the past, you would have seen, I'm sure you would have learned in class about businesses on the JSE that lied, that said that they made more money than they actually did. Right? People go and invest in that, and when they invest in that and the business has lied, they could stand to lose all of their money. Right, the next one is social transformation. Right, so we have to make sure that everyone in the country is on an equal footing and that we've transformed in terms of previously disadvantaged individuals. Then it also tells us how a board of directors must be made up. Remember, a director is the upper level management, right? They plan strategically for the business going forward. So it's going to say how we need to make up those board of directors and how they get elected. And then the last one is accountability and audit conditions. Right, so we've got to make sure that people are held accountable for their actions, to make sure that we're doing the right thing, and also that how the company must be audited. All right, remember, audit's very important because they make sure that the company has followed the rules that has been set in place according to the law. Right, let's go on to question 3.2. Right, very good question here. Discuss how sexual harassment and the price differences in rural areas could challenge ethical and professional behavior, and also recommend how these forms of unethical behavior can be addressed by business. Now, this is for 12 marks. This is quite a substantial question. Right, so you would have seen there's different challenges to ethical behavior. They're asking two from us here. Make sure that you always read the question carefully, especially in your exam tomorrow. Underline all the key points that they're asking from you. Right, so let's see what they have to say here. Right, so the first one is the pricing of goods in a rural area. Right. Okay, so lack of monitoring by regulatory bodies on legislation or recommended prices. Right. Then we also have business owners having their business located in rural areas far from town add to the transport cost of their price of goods and services. And sometimes there's also a lack of infrastructure which results in businesses having no competition. All right. Remember, competition is vital for the consumers, especially if you're in a market economy. It's all about supply and demand. And if we don't have competition, then people can charge whatever prices we want. And you must also remember, in rural areas, sometimes there aren't tar roads or there aren't bridges to get over rivers. So it's a very big struggle to get your goods to the consumers. And obviously, they have to put their prices up there. So if we look at our recommendations that we could make for this, we could be monitored by regulatory bodies on prices, right? We could have cost-effective ways of transporting the goods that can be investigated. So maybe we could use trains or any other form of transportation to try and get those goods across there. Okay, suppliers should work together to take turns in delivery of goods and services, right? Government should improve infrastructure in rural areas. Okay, so this is also where corporate social investment and corporate social responsibility comes in, because maybe the businesses in those areas could help or partner up with the government to build that infrastructure. I'm sure you guys would have seen on TV, there were adverts about how infrastructure was paid for because of people paying taxes, right? That could be another big thing there. Right, if you look at rural parts in South Africa, a lot of tar road, there aren't many tar roads. Sometimes, as I said, there's no bridges. So it's very difficult to get that infrastructure. And don't forget about communication infrastructure and electricity. Right, now you can put any relevant answer there, right, that addresses that there, and you'll get marks for that. So if you discussed the problems, you would have got 2 marks per point, for maximum of 2 points there for 4 marks, and a recommendation was for 2 marks there. So that gave you 6 marks that you would have got for pricing in rural areas. Right, now let's go on to sexual harassment. Okay, so that's where there's requests for sexual favors in return for employment benefits. Right, so that's where you try and get a client by saying to them, that you'd return the favor with sexual favors, or that you'd promote a person in your business if they did something for you sexually, right? All very, very wrong and unethical, and there's also laws that protect people against that. Right. It includes unwelcome sexual advances or jokes, such as touching a person in an inappropriate or sexual manner. It includes pressure for sexual favors to ensure financial benefits, all right, or anything else that you could put there, right? Recommendations would be to educate employers on sexual harassment matters, right? Each and every business should have a clear policy regarding sexual harassment, which must be stipulated in the code of conduct of the business. And it also ensures compliance with the law. So if you look at the Employment Equity Act, they make sure that everyone gets treated fairly, right? You cannot go and treat people that are of the opposite gender to you inferiorly, or treat them as sexual objects, because that is wrong there, or even people that have different sexual orientations to you. Right, once again there, the discussion, right, so you could give me any 2 points there, 2 marks each for 4 marks, and then our recommendations would, you'd give me 1 for 2 marks there, right. Just make sure that you can back up what you're saying there. Anything you say there, you'll be able to get the marks as long as you can back it up. Luni?
All right, Mindsetters, don't forget, if you've entered the Be a Bright Spark competition from Safeways Kit 53 Learners and Drivers Manual, or if you download the app, then on Sunday, this coming Sunday, the 23rd of November, we'll be giving away our very first Chevy Spark L. So make sure that you tell all your friends and all your family members who entered the Be a Bright Spark competition to watch this Sunday. Learn Extra live, guys. Our show will be live on Sunday, and you might be a winner of that Chevy Spark L. So make sure 5 o'clock Sunday you watch our show, because we'll be announcing our very first winner for the Be a Bright Spark competition. And remember, guys, if you don't win on Sunday, we have 3 more cars to give away. So keep entering and tell all your friends to enter. Then you might be a Bright Spark and win that Chevy Spark L. But with that said, let's take a very quick break, and I'll see you straight after this. Welcome back, Mindsetters, from that break. I hope you guys are enjoying your business study show, because we are trying to prep you for that exam tomorrow. So make sure you go onto Facebook, you ask us all your questions, and I'll make sure I ask Dave just before the show ends, or during the show. We'll make sure we ask all your questions, guys, because we want you to get those A's for business studies. Another thing, if you check our Facebook page, we are 88 likes away from 100,000 likes. So that means we've had so many friends throughout the years, and we're almost at 100,000. So make sure, guys, you try to guess when we'll reach 100,000. How you do that, you go to our Facebook page. There is all the information there about how you guess when we'll get to 100,000. But simply you go to Curio, you fill in the details, the code is LEARN, and then you answer all those 3 questions, and then you'll stand a chance to win an airtime voucher. We're giving away airtime vouchers for all those people who are close enough to guessing the date, the time, and when we will get to 100,000 likes. Like I said, it's only 88 more people, so make sure you tell all your friends to like our page, because we've helped you get through your studies, and we've made you bright sparks, and we love you guys, and we've helped you guys throughout this time. So make sure you ask all your friends to like our page, because it's only 88 more people to go. And all of that said, Dave.
Thanks, Lynn. Yeah, so we're going to continue on with ethics, professionalism, corporate social responsibility, and corporate social investment. So our next question has got to do with social responsibility, right? So we have to give 3 benefits or advantages and 3 disadvantages of social responsibility for a business. All right, so let's see what they have to say. All right, so firstly, what are the benefits of corporate social responsibility? Right, so firstly, we have increased sales due to customer loyalty. Right, as I said earlier before, people want to be a part of something positive. Right, and if they know that they're contributing to something that is worthwhile and positive, they're going to carry on contributing there. So we're going to have a better customer loyalty. You would have seen in the past that people, where companies exploited people in sweatshops, there was a big backlash according to that. Currently, at the moment, there's a whole uproar about a certain South African retailer that's getting products from a certain country, right? So that's created people wanting to not buy from that shop and wanting to boycott that certain retailer there, right? Charitable contributions, meeting the needs of the disadvantaged. So that's just, once again, we got that nice, good feeling that we're doing something for people that are underprivileged, right? The involvement of the business in education, employment, and other things that uplifts the community, right? We're uplifting the community. We're reliant on the community for our workers as well as for our customers and clients. So if we uplift the community, they're going to want to support us, because it's a win-win situation for both of us. It's a win-win situation for the business, and it's a win-win situation for the community. Right. It leads to improved product quality and other possible benefits. Right. And then any other relevant answer that related to the benefits of social responsibility. So you would have got, if you had 3 points there, 2 marks each, and we've given you 6 marks in the end there. Right. Let's look at the disadvantages of social responsibility. Right. This may affect the financial performance of the business. Right. Now we're focusing on aspects that aren't related to our business or that aren't going to create profit for our business. So this could have a financial consequence for us, because now we're spending money on things that we shouldn't be spending on, or that we don't actually have money for, that isn't going to create an income for the business. Right. The community may become angry or withdraw their support, and the business's reputation may suffer if the business cuts down on social responsibility programs. Right, so we've seen that in the past. The communities sometimes become too reliant on the business to solve their social problems, and when the business has to withdraw or cut back, so like at the moment, the economy in South Africa is not very strong, so businesses are under financial pressure, so they've got to cut back money wherever they can, and if they cut back on that program, that could infuriate the community, and the community could turn against that business. Right. The community may not support the enterprise, right? And difficult in adherence to legislations governing corporate social responsibility, right? Once again, any 3 points there for 2 marks each, for a maximum of 6 marks there, right? So there are advantages and there are disadvantages for corporate social responsibility, right? Just make sure that you know at least 5 of them and know them really, really well, for advantages and disadvantages for the business. Right. Next question is quite important. Define the term corporate social investment. So let's look at what that is, and this is for 4 marks, right? So corporate social investment is any project undertaken by an organization which is external to its normal business activities and is not directly aimed at increasing profit, right? The project must have a strong focus on community development, right? So a business isn't going to invest in the community so they can make a profit. What it's doing, it's investing in the community to uplift the community, right? Corporate social investment forms part of corporate social responsibility. Remember, corporate social responsibility covers a wide range of things. It's our responsibility to the community to uplift them, to make sure that they're safe, to not pollute them, and to work hand in hand with them. Where corporate social investment is we investing in the community so that we can uplift their standard of education. So you get various ways that we could invest in the community. Maybe we could build them a new school, right? If education is a massive it's something that's lacking in the community, or we could build clinics to improve the health of the community. So it's something that's going to improve the community by investing in it. You must also remember that corporate social investment is a long-term strategy, right? It's not something you can't go into a community and say, all right, here's R1 million, sort your problems out. It's a long growth investment there. And you don't see the impact of corporate social investment straight away, right? It takes years for that to come through. But we're going to cover that a little bit later. Right, let's go into our next question there, right? Couple of short questions, 2 marks each. Classify each of the following statements as either an unethical business practice or unprofessional business practice there. So let's see what they have to say. Let's look at the question here. So Susan downloads information for her son's school project at work. Now, if you remember one of the first multiple choice questions we went through, you should know that answer there. The staff at Fund Bank refuses to serve customers because the company did not meet their demands for new uniforms. Right. A doctor reports very late for duty at a hospital without a valid reason. Right. And then John uses the company's credit card to pay for his family's holiday. Right. So let's look at what the answers are here. So Susan downloads information for her son's school project at work. Right. Is that right? Is what she's doing right? No, it's not, because she's using the company's work time and their internet to actually do her son's project. So there we have it as unethical. Right. I hope everyone can see the difference there, right? Then the staff at Fund Bank refuses to serve customers because the company did not meet their demands for new uniforms, right? That is unprofessional. Right, which is definitely not something that we want. Right. A doctor reports very late for duty at a hospital without a valid reason. Right. That is, once again, unprofessional. Right, because doctors are expected to be on time there. Right. The doctor isn't doing anything wrong in terms of telling everyone what's wrong with his patients. Right. However, he's not being on time, so that's unprofessional. And then once again, John uses the company's credit card to pay for his family's holiday, right? The company is paying for something personal for John, right? That is known as an unauthorized use of funds or fraud, which is unethical. That is not doing the right thing there, right? John is using someone else's money to pay for a personal expense. That is unethical. Right. Here we've got a little bit of a case study. So the vision for ABC Limited, one of the world's largest diversified mining groups, is inspired by a statement made by the company's founder. He said, "The aims of this group have always been to make a profit and permanent contribution to the well-being of our employees." Right. So let's have a look at what the question's asking here. Recommend 3 corporate social investment initiatives that ABC Limited can undertake. So let's see what ABC Limited can actually do there. Now you can see from what their CEO has said, they're quite positive about that. So firstly, businesses can donate computers to underprivileged schools, right? Especially schools in their areas. IT is a very important skill to have, and they could maybe uplift the education standard of people in their area, which is going to create what? Better employees for them. So they're investing in their community so that they can get better employees out there. Right. So we could be teaching entrepreneurship skills and offering support to individuals starting new ventures. Right. That's very important in terms of corporate social investment. We have to make sure that we give the people the skills. We don't just give them the tools and say, right, here's computers, go, right? People don't know how to use those computers. We need to give them the skills. We need to empower them. That is very, very important. Right. We could maybe provide adult basic education and training in local communities. Right. If we look at South Africa, we've got a very high illiteracy rate. Maybe we could change that. Sponsoring arts and cultural programs. Right. Establishing programs to promote early childhood development. Right. So that's like starting schools, making sure that their children have the right skills so that they know how to read and write and they don't get left behind. Right. We could conduct job creation programs. Right, giving people skills that they need, and then we could support sport development programs, give out sports bursaries or sponsorships to some talented sportsmen. All right, let's look at the next question. Distinguish between corporate social investments and corporate social responsibility for 4 marks there. Right. So this is the difference between the two. Right. Corporate social investment refers to any project undertaken by an organization which is over and above the normal business activities of the company and not directly aimed at increasing profitability, like I said earlier. Programs, and it's programs that will benefit the community and the environment into which time, skills, and expertise and money are invested. All right. Now, if we look at corporate social responsibility, this refers to any strategy used by a business to take responsibility for their impact on society and the environment. All right. It is not a single action, but rather an approach to doing business that guides all decision making in the firm. Right? It is a way in which companies manage their businesses, operations, so that it does not negatively affect all stakeholders. All right, so we've got to make sure corporate social responsibility, that we have a positive effect on our communities. Where corporate social investment is all about what programs we're going to implement in the communities, how we're going to invest in the communities to uplift the communities as a whole. Corporate social responsibility is a massive plan of action, and corporate social investment falls part of corporate social responsibility. So you need to have a corporate social responsibility program, right, for corporate social investment to take place there. And remember, corporate social investment is about investing in the community and the community's needs. It's not a way for a business to find out how we can profit from the community. It's about uplifting the community, building the community up, and making sure that we have a positive impact on our community rather than a negative impact. So we don't want to pollute the community. We don't want to leave the community worse off than when we got there. We actually want to leave a lasting effect there. And corporate social investment is one of the tools for corporate social responsibility. Luni, over to you.
All right, mindset is, so if you guys remember, we were running a competition to give away a Google Play voucher for you guys to enter and download the Be a Bright Spark competition. And I'd like to congratulate winner Neo Konyane. You have won yourself the Google Play voucher to download yourself the K53 app from the Google Play Store, as well as other stuff that you'd like to download as well. So congratulations to you. You've also got a free entry into the Be a Bright Spark competition. So make sure that you use your voucher wisely and you download that app, because you've just won the Google voucher. Mindsetters, remember, we are announcing the winner this Sunday at 5 on Learn Extra Live. So make sure you watch that show, guys, and you might be a winner of that very first Chevy Spark L. And don't forget, we have 3 more cars to give away. So don't worry if you haven't won the first one. Enter again and you will stand a chance to win one of those 3. So that's it, guys. Let's take a very quick break and we'll see you straight after this. Welcome back from that break, guys. I hope you're still enjoying the show. Quick shout out to Mark Ndandazo, Pro Vibe Fires, Nokolo Siviwe, Chirema, Linda Kuhle, Andisiwe, and Fires again. And quick congratulations one more time to Neo Konyane. You have won yourself that Google Play voucher for the Be a Bright Spark competition from that Caption the Photo competition. So make sure you use your voucher wisely and you download that app to stand a chance to win a Chevy Spark L. Dave?
Right, thank you very much, Luni. I hope you guys have been learning a lot during our session so far, and I've answered any questions there for you guys. I understand someone asked a question in terms of what's the difference between corporate social responsibility and corporate social investment. I hope you understand the difference between the two now. Right, now we're going to go on to our next question, and it is discuss any 4 ways in which businesses should conduct professional, responsible, and ethical and effective business. Right, so this is quite a big question. It's for 12 marks there. Right, when you break that down, that's 4% of your paper that this question's about there. So let's see what our answer is there. Right, so the first thing that we must do, right, is we must make a regular payment of tax. Right, and we pay, and you get 2 marks for that heading there. Remember who we pay tax to? SARS, the South African Revenue Service. All right. So if we look, remember SARS had a whole campaign about how people's tax money was paying to help the infrastructure of the country. That once again goes into the earlier question we have in terms of the pricing of rural goods to make sure that the rural areas have all the infrastructure that they need going forward. All right. So business is compelled, which means they must, by the law, to pay tax to generate income for the government, right? That is how the government gets its revenue, right? We have to pay tax for it so that the government has revenue, so that they can build clinics and hospitals and schools and fix up the roads and build infrastructure that is needed for South Africa to continue its business, right? Businesses should not evade tax and should declare all income earned. Right. That once again goes to ethical behavior, doing the right thing, to make sure that we declare all of our money that we've earned and we pay the correct amount of tax on it. Because if we don't pay tax, the country on the whole suffers, right? And we need to make sure that we avoid that and that we are doing the right thing all the time, because that is what ethics is about, doing the right thing. All right. A business should pay tax to avoid government penalties and fines. All right, I'm sure you guys will see, if you're watching TV, you'll see the advert for SARS, and it's got that guy who's stressing, and everywhere he goes, he's always looking over his shoulders, all right? Because if you don't pay your taxes, you could get thrown into prison, and you could also get massive fines. Your company could be liable for fines of up to hundreds of millions of rands. Right? Think of what the business could have done with those hundreds of millions of rands if they had just paid their tax. Right. Also, if you've got any other relevant answers pertaining to this, you would have got a mark there. Okay, so you got 2 marks for the heading, and then 1 mark for explaining all the points there. Right. The next one is treating all employees equally. Right. 2 marks for the heading there. Remember, also it has to do with the Employment Equity Act. Okay. Employment Equity Act is treating everyone the same, all right? You cannot discriminate against anyone, or you cannot hold any prejudice against anyone. It's illegal, right? Everyone is seen as the same, whether you're disabled, able-bodied, no matter what your race is, your sexual orientation, your religion, your HIV status, everyone needs to be treated the same, all right? Think of how you'd want to be treated. That's exactly how you should treat your employees, right? So it is ethical to treat employees equally, right? Because that's doing the right thing, right? And this will also prevent conflict in the business. Okay. If everyone's treated the same, no one's going to feel like they've been hard done by or they've been done in by the employer, right? Everyone is happy and everyone's on an equal playing field then, because everyone is treated exactly the same. There's no favoritism or nepotism, right? If a manager treats an employee unfairly, the manager is violating that employee's human rights, right? And if you remember that human rights is one of the cornerstones of our constitution, right? Everyone has got equal human rights. No one is more superior than someone else. And if we violate those rights, right, we're going against the constitution. And the constitution is the highest law in the land. All other laws have to fall under the constitution. No law is superior to the constitution. Right. Also remember that if you have any other relevant answers related to the equal treatment of employees, you could get a mark there. Once again, guys, it's 1 mark per point that you bring across there. Right. Okay. The next one goes into the above thing there. The above point of equal treatment of employees, right, is the payment of fair wages and salaries, right? There's quite a big movement at the moment in terms of payments of fair wages and salaries for employees. You would have seen internationally there's an Occupy Wall Street campaign, whereby people were fighting against the salaries that the big CEOs and the big bankers got overseas when everyone else was struggling, right? So they want fairness for everyone there. So the first thing is employees make a contribution to the success and profitability of the business. Therefore, they must be remunerated fairly, right? That's why we have the Labour Relations Act and Basic Conditions of Employment Act. So that regulates what is the minimum amount that people should be paid, right? That is fair to them. There's no point the CEO making billions of rands every year and then the workers on the ground are making money that's not even enough for them to survive on, where they're contributing so much value to the business. It must be fair. And also in terms of if two employees are doing the same job, they need to make sure that they're getting paid the same amount, right? If one employee is a lot more experienced than another, yes, then you can justify saying, right, Luni's got 10 more years experience than Dave, so therefore she should get paid more because she's got more experience, she's going to add more value. But if Luni and I are on the same level and we are not getting paid the same because of maybe favoritism, right, that's going to create conflict in the business, and that isn't right. Right. Remuneration for working overtime and on public holidays. All right. So if you work overtime, you're obviously making a sacrifice that you cannot see your family. If you cannot see your family, right, you need to get remunerated for that. Just as well as working on a public holiday, that's why you get paid even more if you work on a public holiday, because you are giving up your own personal time to be at work there. And it's only fair that you get paid accordingly, because you're giving up your time that you could have spent with family and friends or loved ones. Right. Then any other relevant answer there, right, guys? Remember, if you can justify something, you'll get the marks there. Right, then we have conserving the environment, right? 2 marks there, right? So when think of conserving the environment, think of the rhinos, right? Or water pollution, right? We need to make sure that we leave stuff for our future generations to enjoy, right? If we pollute our water, what are we going to drink? We're all going to die of thirst, right? Also remember the rhinos, they play a very important role in the ecosystem, and we get a lot of money from the tourism of those rhinos. They're a sustainable business. So we need to make sure that we look after them. All right, so we must not pollute the environment. Example, disposal or dumping of toxic waste, especially in rivers or in nature parks there, because we're going to kill the animals, we're going to kill the fish, and some people are reliant on those animals and those fish either to feed themselves or for their business, right? If you look at the Gulf of Mexico, when there was that massive oil spill there, right, people were reliant on the fishing from the Gulf of Mexico and tourism, and they lost out because they couldn't operate their businesses anymore because the fish were dead, and which tourist would want to go to a beach that's full of oil? So we have to make sure that we conserve our environment, and if we conserve our environment, future generations will be able to benefit from it. We must also sustain natural resources, right? So in the forestry sector, we must make sure if we chop down trees, we plant some more trees, so it's sustainable, so that there's more to go around for the future generations. All right, and we should always be involved in environmental awareness programs. Right, that's what I said there. Think of the rhinos. Right, they could possibly become extinct in the coming next decades. Right, we don't want that. Right, we need to conserve them so that future generations can enjoy rhinos, and it also helps with the tourism of the country. Right, one of South Africa's biggest draw cards is that we've got so many natural, beautiful wonders. Right, and the more tourists we get into the country, the more jobs we're going to create. And tourism is a lot more sustainable than mining, because mining, once all the minerals are mined and taken out of the ground, they're not there anymore. They don't get replenished. Right, then we must make sure that there's fair pricing. So we should charge fair prices for goods and services, right? Not ripping people off. It must be fair. Okay, I'm sure you've gone to some places where they've charged you a ridiculous price, and they've charged you that ridiculous price because there's no other competition there. That once again goes into that rural pricing, where everything in rural areas is a lot more expensive than city areas. So we must charge fair prices to our consumers, right? That'll also, if we charge fair prices to consumers, we get a lot more consumer loyalty, right? And we should not make unfair profit at the expense of customers and clients, right? There's been a lot of businesses and talk of businesses that have made ridiculous profits at the expense of their clients because they've ripped their clients off. If you look at, there were massive banking scandals in the United Kingdom and New York from businesses ripping off their clients to make massive profits for themselves. That is not sustainable, because sooner or later people are going to say no, and they're going to be the cause for your business to shut down because you're not going to have any customers or clients anymore. Right, then we have fair and ethical advertising. So we should not use deceptive advertising, right? The advertising must make sure that it tells everything as it is, and it is honest. We can't say, all right, if you buy this certain vehicle, you're going to be able to break land speed records, because that's very wrong. And we must also make sure that who we're advertising to, we take that into account. So children are a lot more, can be deceived a lot easier. So we must make sure that we avoid that, right? We should not charge a different price for the same goods or services that is advertised, and advertise only goods and services that are available, right? So some stores used to say, right, we've got this product for 100 Rand, and you go in there and all of a sudden they're not there anymore, right? That is unfair advertising. Right, then we are not starting a venture at the expense of someone else. So businesses should not start ventures using other businesses' ideas, right? And the community environment employees must not be disadvantaged by the business in any way, right? And then we have transparency. As I said earlier, decisions and actions must be clear to all stakeholders. And then accountability, right? Businesses should be accountable and responsible for their decisions and their actions. We need to hold people accountable for what they've done to the community, and they must be responsible for that, and also transparent. We must be able to see what is actually happening in our businesses there. Luni.
All right. Mindset says we are going to take a break, but before we do, our page likes are increasing by the second. So make sure, guys, you go there and you guess, because you might win an airtime voucher. So you need to guess the time, the week, and the date. Okay, yeah, the time, the week, and the day in which we'll get to 100,000 likes. I'm guessing that by the end of the show we'll get there, but I don't know. I may be wrong. So make sure you go to the Curio and then you enter the code LEARN, and then you fill in the day, the week, and the time that you think will reach 100,000 likes, and you'll stand a chance to win one of 5 airtime vouchers. I said, I guess, by the end of the show. Don't you think, Dave?
Oh, I reckon so. Come on, guys.
It's like we at 9:23 now, so it's only like 77 more likes to go. And I know you guys, you can ask all your friends to like our page, and by the end of the show, we'll hit 100,000. But that's a challenge for you. So let's take a very quick break, and I'll see you straight after this. Welcome back, Mindsetters, from that break. So Dave, in light of the Beer Braswell competition, K53, I want to throw a stat at you.
Yeah.
You must tell me what you think about it.
Okay.
Okay. So did you know that the annual road crashes in South Africa cost the economy 133 billion rand?
Wow, that's an astronomical figure there, but it's something that is believable. I mean, if you look at that, they say about 44 fatalities a day in terms of motor vehicle accidents, and that has a massive impact on the economy, because people that were breadwinners for their households lose their jobs. All of a sudden, school children don't have money to go to school anymore. They can't get an education. They become unemployed. They lack the skill they need to be competitive. Also, you look at insurance companies have to pay out money for the accidents. Life assurance companies have to pay out money to the beneficiaries of the person that died. So all of that money gets taken out of the economy where it could have been used to grow the economy.
Yes, and it's taken out from our education, health.
Education, health.
Important areas that we need.
Definitely, it puts strains on our hospitals. You know, like we're using unnecessary resources there. It puts a strain on our emergency services. And a lot of it's also got to do with people not having a driver's license or having a correct driver's license. They bought their driver's license or driving without a learner's license. You know, that's unethical things there. And we look at the moment, there's a big drive in terms of the K53. You could almost say it's corporate social responsibility, because they're trying to create a winning environment for all road users and for people to do the right thing, which is ethical, to make sure you got the right license, you didn't buy your license, because that's going to ensure that there aren't fatalities, there aren't that many accidents on the South African road, and that's going to help our economy rather than paying out exorbitant amounts of sums and the economy draining money, especially in South Africa's current economy.
So it's not, you must not be part of the problem, guys. You must be part of the solution. So don't buy your license. Do it the right way. Get your learners, go get tested for your drivers, and be a good citizen of this country, because these stats are just
scary.
Very, very scary. Anyway, Dave, listen.
Right, we're going to be going on to essay questions now. Now, one of the big mistakes that I see when I mark essay papers is that learners don't read the questions properly, right? In your 10 minutes reading time that you'll be given tomorrow before your exam, the first tip I can recommend to you is read the essay questions first. You're going to be given 4 questions. You're going to have to select 2. Read the questions first and pick the 2 that you feel most comfortable with. Read them. Then go back and read your paper. Your subconscious will carry on working through and will carry on bringing information through to you for your essay. So by the time you get to your essays, you're feeling confident. Remember, you need an hour for your essays. You cannot do 2 essays in half an hour or 45 minutes. You're going to miss out on massive loads of marks. Remember, each essay is 13% of your paper. If you don't get to your essays, you're leaving out over a quarter of your paper, which just means you're really up against it. So our first essay that we're going to concentrate on here is the King Code, right? Remember, it's all about governance. Which is about corporate governance for the best business practices. Business ethics and professional products are guided by this code, right? So what is the question asking from us? It says, distinguish with examples between professional behavior and unprofessional behavior. So remember, like things like coming late, that's unprofessional, right? Not wearing the correct uniform, unprofessional, right? And then explain possible reasons why prices in rural areas and unfair advertising are regarded to be as unethical business practices, right? We've gone through this already today, so you guys should be feeling a little bit more confident with this. And then we need to discuss ways in which professional, responsible, ethical, and effective business practices should be conducted, right? If you remember the last question we had, they spoke about that there. Right, so firstly, your introduction. Right, remember, your introduction is just like your starter, very, very brief. Right, it's like when you go to a restaurant, you have a starter, it's a very small meal. It's actually just there to make you more hungry. That's what your introduction must be for your essay there. Remember, guys, it's all about trying to be as neat as possible, right? So bullet points, okay? It's not like English or history where you have to have full sentences. Let's get to bullet points. Let's get to the money. Make sure it's set out neatly there, right? You must remember that the marker that's marking your essays is marking over 1,000 essays, right? They want to give you the marks, so help them give you the marks. Okay, so our introduction. Enterprises realize that they cannot exist in isolation and have to interact with various environments. Many institutions in South Africa have their own code of conduct and code of ethics and commitment to ethical and professional behavior, right? And a code of practice usually addresses professionalism, behavior, professionalism, where a code of ethics contains ethical actions and what is right and acceptable, right? So your introduction is going to be for 2 marks, so it's 1 mark per point, and you must just put two marks in there, 2 points in there. So now we must differentiate between professionalism and unprofessionalism. So the first one is respect, right? So you're going to get 1 mark there, right? So if you're professional, you use polite language towards colleagues, right? So we're not going to use swear words or derogatory words. We're going to address them professionally, right? So if you look at how Looney and I address each other, it's very professional. It's not using slang or any bad terms towards each other there. Help others and listen to advice from others. Acknowledge differences in background, culture, and religion. Right, that's for maximum of 2 marks here. You got 2 marks per point. Right, unprofessional. Use rude or impolite language, swearing at a colleague, nasty remarks about people's ideas or opinions, ridiculing differences in language, culture, or religion. Remember, the Employment Equity Act prohibits that. Right, inappropriate or offensive clothing. Right, then we go into integrity. So integrity is what happens when people aren't watching, right? So integrity, we get a mark there for listing that. Looking after equipment, keeping to the working hours, not bending the law to suit oneself, and engaging in open dealings. That's once again got to do with transparency. Unprofessional is where we use a business resources for private purposes, right? Downloading our son's project. Take without permission or steal business resources, make feeble excuses for work not done, and we accept bribery. Right, next one is competency. So it means how well we do our work. So doing the best job possible, working overtime if necessary, going beyond job descriptions, coach and mentor colleagues, right? Unprofessional is where we take shortcuts of tasks, right? How many of you guys want to take shortcuts in studying? Unfortunately, you're not going to be competent in your exam if you do that. Not meeting deadlines, so not handing in your assignments. Refuses to work overtime although colleagues are doing it. Not taking pride in completing tasks thoroughly. Okay. The next one is confidentiality. It's got a lot to do with doctors, right? So we keep clients' information private and confidential. We refrain from criticizing clients in front of colleagues and vice versa. Not using clients' information to our own advantage. So it's like a doctor saying, oh, I know what's wrong with this gentleman. Let me go tell his opposing sports team what they can do to injure him even more. All right. Unprofessional is where we gossip about clients. Discuss confidential client information with colleagues. Use client information for our own advantage. All right. Objectivity. Get a mark there. So we got to treat people equally. Apply our laws and rules consistently and properly. Remain objective at all times. Right. So we don't let our emotions get involved here. We have unprofessional is where we have special preferences for our own benefits. We have one-sided views, and we support destructive ideas. Right. We don't want that. Right. Then development. We attend skills development programs, learn from senior or experienced colleagues, improve knowledge through reading and conducting research. Unprofessional in terms of is to refuse to attend skills development programs, have a know-it-all attitude. I'm sure you've met people like that. Refuse to work in teams, disregard the experience of senior workers. Remember, there's no substitute for experience. So if you could name it, so like development here, you got a mark. If you could give an example of professional behavior, you got 2 marks. And if you could give an example of unprofessional behavior, you got 2 marks there. So this whole table in total is worth 15 marks, right? That is quite substantial. That is 5% of your paper, right? So now we're going to go into ethical problems. So pricing of goods in rural areas, right? It is good practice and professional to have the same price for goods in urban and rural areas. So we can't go to retailers and one in Johannesburg and one in a rural area, and we charge different prices. The same prices need to be set. So what I pay for a 2-litre cold drink in Johannesburg, I should pay for one in the rural Transkei. Right, big businesses are reluctant to open outlets in rural areas because of poor returns on their investment. Remember, I said it costs more to get their goods there. It is common practice to pay a higher prices for goods of inferior quality in rural areas. That's unethical. That's not the right thing to do. Prices of goods in these areas are generally based on personal characteristics of consumers, and people in rural areas do not have the means to check and compare prices via the internet, right? Because they don't have internet often in those areas, and are often forced to buy from one and only local stores. Right, and some businesses exploit consumers by adding much more than necessary to increase their prices. Right, then we have unfair advertising. The Advertising Standards Authority of South Africa regulates advertising and protects the interests of the public. Right, so if you've got a problem with an advert, if it's deceptive, you can complain to them. Businesses can make unwise advertising choices when they are under pressure, and advertisements should be honest. Right, that once again goes to ethics, doing the right thing, and not abuse consumers' trust or lack of knowledge. And then advertisements can contain discriminatory conditions that can exclude sections of the population, i.e. job advertisements that say this job is not suitable for women. We can't have that, right? Misleading advertising is used to get consumers to believe they can get more value for their money if they support certain products. And consumers are encouraged to lodge written complaints to the Advertising Standards Authority regarding unethical advertising practices. Businesses that advertise an item at an extremely low price to attract consumers, but when the customer reaches the store, the item is no longer available. And then advertisements that advertise free products do not always reveal the hidden cost payable by the consumers. Remember, if something sounds too good to be true, it more than often is. Examples of unethical practice: to advertise second-hand goods as new. All right. Now we're going to go on to professional, responsible, and ethical and effective business practice methods. Right. So businesses should not be started at the expense of someone else. We spoke about that in the previous section. The aim should never be profit at all costs, as it will always disadvantage of others. Right. We don't want that. We want everyone to share in the profitability of the business. Businesses should not use other people's ideas to enrich themselves. I'm sure you guys know of someone that's done that. You started a famous social media site. Putting someone else out of business for one's own gain is unethical and a poor moral choice. Right, then payment of fair wages and salaries. Workers must not be exploited with low salaries just because it's difficult to find a job. Workers' rights and dignity should be respected. Employees make a contribution to the success and profitability of the business, and therefore they must be remunerated. Remunerate workers for working overtime and on public holidays. Right. Then, hiring honest and trustworthy accountants and financial officers with good reputations. Right. These people have got a lot of power in terms of the money that they're dealing with. So we need to make sure that we're employing people that are honest and that are fair, so that we don't lose money. Because if we lose money, we're not going to be able to expand our business. Right, regular payment of taxes. We spoke about that earlier. The government, that's their source of revenue, and we need to make sure that we pay those taxes so that everyone can benefit from that. Right, transparent process and procedures. So everything needs to be transparent. Employees should be aware of the employment policy of the business, and all laws that government employment should be communicated to workers. Right, and then we need to draw up a code of ethics. So that is for our particular business, to make sure that everyone knows what they should be doing and that they should be doing the right thing. Right, ongoing development and training for all employees. All right, we want to empower our employees. All right, so we need to make sure that we train them and that it's ethical and professional. And we should always understand that certain conduct or actions have certain consequences. So if you steal money from the business, you are going to lose your job. Employees should be encouraged to attend training courses and upgrade their skills, and they should promote their own career development and also contribute to increasing productivity. Performance management systems should be in place. Right, this is where a business should evaluate employees' performance against their job description. Are they doing the right thing? And if employees don't know that they're doing the right thing, then they need to be told that they can fix that. We should also train our employees, and we should ensure that employees are treated equally to prevent conflict. Workers' rights should also be considered when management systems are introduced. Management must set the tone and example. It starts at the top, right? They are the role models, right? If your boss is stealing, you are more than likely going to steal. And then we need to make sure that there's adequate internal controls, so effective monitoring systems should be in place to monitor the usage of all resources. And regular meetings and discussions should identify and address potential problems in order to be proactive rather than reactive. Right. There must be honesty and accountability in relationships and transactions. Right. We must protect the environment, which we spoke about. Right. And then our conclusion: ethics and professionalism form an integral part of the business operations and in practices. Because remember, people want to deal with us if we are ethical, if we're going to be doing the right thing. They don't want to get ripped off. And it's important that a business dealings and behavior are in line with its code of conduct and professionalism. And businesses who behave professionally and ethically are usually sustainable and have a good public image. Right. Linny.
All right, Mindset, let's go for a very quick break, and I'll see you right after this. Hello, Mindsetters. Welcome back from the break. I hope you guys are still enjoying your business study show, because we're trying to prep you for that final exam tomorrow, and we know you're going to do well because Dave is such an awesome teacher. And another thing, guys, we know that holidays are coming up, and December is always fun time for you and your friends, right? But we want you guys to save a friend and don't drink and drive. Don't let your friends drink and drive. Don't let yourself drink and drive. So don't drink and drive at all, guys, because we don't want you guys getting into car accidents and being in danger and putting your friends' lives at danger as well. So make sure you drink responsibly, you have responsible fun, and you have fun while saving your friends. So make sure you don't do anything irresponsible. It's going to put your friend's life in danger as well. Be a bright spark, do the right thing, and save your friend. Okay, guys? That's a message from me to you. Just, Yeah, Dave.
Nice. And you're very professional there.
Yes, ethical.
And ethical, yes, doing the right thing there. Right, guys, we're going to be going through some questions that you guys have posted on Facebook. I'm going to be trying to get through them as quickly as possible. So our first question, Lutendo, she asked us to please explain total quality management. Right. So total quality management is worried about making sure that everything in the business is concerned about quality, from the cleaners at the bottom all the way to the CEOs at the top. Right? If the cleaner at the bottom doesn't take pride in their work and make sure they do their job to the best of their ability, people are going to come into the business is going to be dirty. All right? People aren't going to want to do business with you, or products are going to get dirty when we ship them out to our retailers. Our retailers are going to send them back because they aren't packaged properly. So total quality management is making sure that every single person in the business is of the same quality in terms of what our overall business's vision is. So if we look at our receptionist, they have to answer the phone professionally, because that is quality. That's what we expect of our business. And you can relate that to every function in the business, the 8 different business functions, as well as to each and every one of the individuals' different jobs there. So if you look there, if Luni wasn't professional, that wouldn't add to our quality show. Everyone here has to add to the quality show, from our backstage crew to the presenters to our researchers. So that is what total quality management is about there. Right. So then our next question is explain the quality performance for the different business functions. Right. So if you look at marketing is worried about making sure that we are doing the correct marketing. We have the correct marketing mix for our business, right? Production function is making sure that we are producing goods of a very good quality, because if we produce inferior goods, people are going to return them to us and we're going to lose out on money as well as time. And we're also going to make sure that we keep up with production methods. If you look at old Disprin tablets or aspirins, right, people used to hand engrave on those tablets. Right now, there's machinery that does it for them, so therefore we can produce more products and they are of a higher quality. Finance is making sure that we investing in the correct things. We're not wasting our money. Right. Human resources, making sure that we have the right people working in our business with the right skills at the right place at the right time. Making sure that our admin is good. Right. If you look at our Facebook page, we're using that and we're getting your guys' questions. That's quality there. We've also got our public relations, making sure that the phones are answered properly and that we are in the news for the correct reasons. So it's just got to do with the 8 business functions and making sure that we've added value in there and we've added quality. So general management, that's making sure that we've got the right systems in place for our business so that our business can go further there. Very good question there. Then we've the 6 steps for total quality satisfaction. All right, let's just look there. That's in terms of our total quality management, making sure that we've got all of our steps in place there, so that our business is creating massive quality overall. Right, let's go to the next question there. Marky, what are the factors that influence investments? Right, so these are things like tax. Right, how much tax are we going to get there? What is the period of the investment? So how long are they? Right, like what is the liquidity? So how easy can I get my money? Right, things like risk. What is our return on investment? Right, so those are all things that we have to take into account for when we're investing. Now the first and the main one is risk. Right, I'm not going to invest in something where I've got an 8% return and the risk of me losing my money is very, very high. Right, the payoff isn't good enough for me. But if I take out a risky investment and I could potentially lose all my money, but they say, right, you could double your money in 2 years, the risk is paid off there. Right, we must also look at how long it's going to take for us to get a return back on our investment. Right, are we going to get paid interest per month, per annum? How many years is it going to take back for me to get all my money back from that investment? So that's important in terms of the period. Right, it's also how liquid is our investment. If I need cash straight away, I can't just go and sell a property. Right, I have to wait until someone comes and buys a property, which usually takes about 8 weeks to sell a property. Where if I put my money into a bank account, I can get my money straight away. So those are all things that you need to take into account, and also how much tax we are going to have to pay on our different investments. Remember, for property, you have to pay capital gains tax. Right, where some investments you don't pay any tax at all because it's under a certain government threshold and they want more people to invest there. Right, the different types of investments that we get there, it's a very good question. So we get bank deposits, so you get a fixed deposit, you get a linked account. A linked account is linked to the interest rates that the banks charge. We also get property. Remember, property, we can either invest for a capital growth, that means where our money is going to grow more, right, because the property value is increased, or we're investing in property so that we can get a passive income every month in the form of rent. We can also invest in shares on the JSE. So once again, that's also capital growth. So we're hoping that the share prices increase, and we also want to get dividends from those shares. We could also be investing in unit trusts, which is a whole bunch of different shares put together in one trust there. So we're hoping for capital growth there and also getting for dividends. We could invest in foreign markets, foreign exchanges, right? So those are like the big investments that we would get there. Right, and then we have, this is a very good question, over insurance and under insurance. Right. Insurance companies do not want to pay out if they don't have to. So remember, you cannot make a profit from your insurance. The whole purpose of insurance is to leave you in the same position that you were in before you had an incident happen to you. So if I insure this pen, if this pen's value is for 100 Rand and someone breaks this pen and I go and claim from the insurance company, they will only give me 100 Rand back. If I insured this pen for 150 Rand and the value of this pen is only 100 Rand, the insurance company will still only give me 100 Rand for this. Because why? I cannot profit from insurance. Under insurance is different. If this pen was valued for 50 Rand, I mean for 100 Rand, and I insured it for 50 Rand, and the pen gets broken, the insurance company is only going to pay me 50 Rand because I underinsured this. Right. So underinsurance is where we haven't insured something to its full value, and because we haven't insured something to its full value, it will not get paid out to us for its full value there. Right. And in terms of limited and unlimited liabilities, right, very, very good question there. So unlimited liabilities is when I own a company and something goes wrong, I get into a lot of debt, then people can not only take the assets of the business, right, but they can take away my personal assets as well. Where limited liability is, I'm only limited to the liability to how much money I invested in the company. So if I invested 100 Rand into my company, all I can lose is how much money I invested in the company. I don't lose any of my personal wealth, right? That's quite a big thing in terms of forms of ownership. That's why if you look at partnerships and sole proprietorships, they have unlimited liability. So if my business was just this pen, right, and this pen is worth 100 Rand, and my business went into debt for 1,000 Rand, they can come and take away my own personal assets. So my PlayStation, my TV, whatever, they can come and take that away because I have unlimited liability. When I have limited liability, all they can do is take away my pen. They can't take away any of my other personal assets. Very good question there. Right, let's go on to some other questions there. Do we have any questions, Lynn?
Yes, we have. From Nomsa, I want to know the unauthorized use of funds.
Right, unauthorized use of funds, that is fraud. So that was one of our earlier questions that we said there. So I think it was John went and paid for his family holiday using the company's credit card. That is unauthorized use of funds. He does not have permission to pay for his personal holiday using the company's funds there.
Questions?
Right.
I'm struggling to understand the Porter's 5 sources.
Right. Porter's 5 forces is in terms of the competition. How strong is the competition? Right. So if you want to start a new cell phone network in South Africa, there's 3 strong competing brands already. So how easy is it going to be for you to get into the market? It also looks at substitutes. Can people substitute your product very easily? Right. So if I come out with a new cold drink, how many substitutes are there out there? There's dozens of substitutes. It also looks at the power of the buyers, right? So if there are only a couple of buyers for that product, they've got a lot more power, so they can charge you whatever they want. There's also that looks at the power of the suppliers, right? So if I can only get my supplier from one company, right, they can charge whatever price they want to because they have a monopoly. And also, how difficult is it to enter into the market? Right, Luni.
All right. Thank you so much, Dave, for the awesome lesson. Mindset is at home. It's been great. Thank you for having us for this hour and a half. I hope you guys have learned a lot from us for your business studies exam tomorrow. All the best. We love you very much, guys. Goodbye.